If you've been involved in the MMA space at all, then you've probably seen this video going around by the JAXXON Podcast with Kevin Holland, and Kevin Holland kind of going on the show disrespecting Rampage. Well, today, since everybody else has been talking about it, not only did I want to throw my 2 cents into the mix, but TJ Dillashaw, again afterwards, has been absolutely cooking these guys. He cooked Anthony Smith, and now he is cooking Kevin Holland. This dude has been his stock's been rising a little bit within the MMA community ever since he's been doing these podcasts, because his analytical viewpoint on things are honestly really, really great. So we're going to watch the original clip, then we're getting into what TJ said. If you've already seen the original clip, then you can skip 5-10 minutes, however, it'll be easy to find. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's watch this video so far together, and this is the first clip.
Listen, I feel like I got to break the ice in the room real quick.
I know, you don't got to break no ice.
I do.
I do,
Rampage, because I love you, but I'm a fan of Kevin Holland.
I guess they were beefing right away, and this is at the very beginning of the podcast. This is 1 minute and 17 seconds into the podcast, and it is important to note it did fizzle out a little bit as time goes on. They ended up having a productive conversation, but Kevin Holland was being incredibly disrespectful coming on somebody else's platform, and it is important to note too, depending on when you're watching this, this is right before his fight with Rainer de Ritter.
I'm a fan of his too, but I know everybody ain't my sense of humor ain't for everybody. So.
But you did this to him. It wasn't needed. I feel like you owe him an apology. He drove 3 hours.
Listen, we already talked about it on the FaceTime. You know what I'm saying?
And if it's all good, it's all good. I don't know how important it was to really bring up for the podcast, but if they squash it, they squashed it, right? But let's listen to Kevin Holland still be a little bit disrespectful because he kind of talks out of turn.
I like to joke around. I don't mean nothing personal with nobody. That's me. That's my sense of humor. Everybody ain't like me, and everybody ain't like you. If people, I've learned throughout my life, if people don't like my sense of humor, fuck it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Kevin,
and that's probably the best way to go about things, to be honest with you. No matter what, you can't please everybody, especially with the state that society's in right now.
You could probably appreciate that attitude.
I mean, I guess, in a sense. You know what I mean?
And you can already tell this dude is not over whatever's been going on. This dude is already having a problem with Rampage.
It just doesn't work like that for Kev.
Why?
That's usually, if you say fuck it to me, it's usually fuck you, so.
Well, I didn't say fuck you. I said fuck it.
Yeah, that's what I said. If you say fuck it to me, I usually say fuck you.
Fuck you.
And you see how that just doesn't make sense already?
You too. I don't give a fuck.
And then it's fuck, and then it's F it, and then it's F you.
Bro,
I like that.
Yeah. Bro, I got no problem with this cat.
Yeah, I love that.
But you know what I'm saying? I'm going to beat me whether he like it or not. I'm going to keep being myself and having the sense of humor that God gave me, and it makes me laugh. So
and as long as it's coming from a good place, man, I don't see a problem with that personally.
I don't give a fuck. Everything's
you
not
think
funny.
Rampage is a funny guy?
Nah, this fool has temper tantrum problems.
Temper tantrum.
Uh-oh. And actually, I disagree with that so far. In the past, he's kind of shown that, but I think as time's gone on, I have really, really, really come to respect Rampage. I love what he's doing on this platform, and especially how he contains himself right here. If you want, I guess it wasn't a good idea to necessarily point out anger issues with Rampage and how great he's been doing on the podcast and how he handled this situation perfectly.
I think he's talking about the Ultimate Fighter and the door.
I don't know what the fuck this.
That's like 10 years ago, Kevin.
And that also could have just been completely for a clip.
And people evolve.
Not really.
You don't think people evolve?
Some do. Not Jackson.
No, he right. I still do got a temper.
Rampage got a little temper, but I feel like you've been able to control it a little bit better.
I control my temper very well. I think,
and it's nice that he's self-aware about it too. That's always a good sign that someone's. And I feel bad saying Rampage is maturing, but it really feels like he has matured over these years.
At that time on the Ultimate Fighter, I was trying to leave the room because I know that I was losing my temper. The staff there and everybody had been cheating my guys the whole motherfucking time, and they was telling me all the problems and stuff that they had. And then one time, one of my fighters had to fight, and I thought it could go, either way. I thought if they gave it to somebody, I thought my guy should have won.
And even then, I'm not above the idea that whole thing was just for a clip, because that is kind of what stuck with the Ultimate Fighter. And if it was a clip, man, it's sad that Rampage is kind of still known for that. But I mean, it did help his career, right? Everybody looks at it and just sees it as a funny thing.
And I was trying to leave. Those guys was telling me, they was complaining, on Ultimate Fighter, they got to write down their list, what they want. And they couldn't. At the house.
Food.
Yeah, they couldn't get nothing they wanted, like healthy food, supplements. They couldn't get none of their shit. But when they ask for liquor and stuff like that, they get it right away. So when
they got it ready for TV, eh?
Found out was, since I was going against Rashad, they wanted Rashad to win because he came from Ultimate Fighter.
Oh.
So when the first time when I did it, I had the same problem. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm gonna keep it 100. I just chalked it up to racism because I was going against Forrest. But when they did it against Rashad,
he's talking about Forrest Griffin. I thought he was talking about Rashad. Never mind. Sorry, I was a little bit lost with that one.
I'm like, what's the problem?
And that's what caused the door to break.
And that's what it was. It was because they came. It wasn't racism. It was because they both came from the Ultimate Fighter.
Interesting. That's interesting. And I mean, like, I wouldn't say that anything really is worth damaging the UFC's property. But again, it all worked out for the best, and it seems like everything got settled with the Ultimate Fighters. So there's really no point talking about that. But the point is, Kevin Holland pointing out his temper tantrum. Everybody has had moments like that. Like, I mean, not necessarily kicking down and destroying a door, but everybody has slipped up before. It happens, man. To act like Kevin Holland has never done that in his life, or anybody watching this, or even myself, like, everybody has slipped up with their anger at some point in their lives. I don't know why we're talking about, like, Rampage in this one specific moment.
So just to make it very clear, Kevin was going to come on the show. He was very gracious and very honorable to come on the show the first time. And then, Rampage left a little comment on Instagram, which I originally thought was funny, but then I understand where you were coming from.
I understand where
you
you're
were
coming
fighting
from.
MVP. You did this to MVP, which I thought it was a great move, hyped up the fight. Rampage made a joke on Instagram, and then Kevin FaceTimed me and said, yo, if I come there, I got to fight. I said, Kevin, we can't.
And again, that's the problem. Like, Kevin Holland seems like a really, really sensitive guy. And it's crazy to me that in this specific space, like, everybody is literally cage fighters. Everybody, and if you want to go the martial arts route about it too, which is also true, but I'm talking about, like, it's crazy that in the world of cage fighting and in the world of martial arts, which is all about being self-composed, having an outlet, like, these people should be more reserved than most people on the planet. Everybody is so sensitive. Like we talk about with John Jones, and that's what I will never understand about John Jones. You have John Jones, the heavyweight champion of the world. He can, we are not exaggerating when we say this, right? John Jones can go talk and walk to anybody he wants on this planet, and he can dominate them. He can do whatever he wants to somebody. But he is arguably one of the most insecure people of all time, and it just does not make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me how these people can't take any jokes. Rampage says something funny. Like, I don't understand why people can't laugh at themselves, man.
Do all that, then we'll just have to reschedule. But I do want to say thank you for coming on the podcast a year later. And you know what? I think Kevin deserves a round of applause from the producing and the team.
Yeah, that's the last thing he want to do is fight me, though. That's the last thing.
I still want to.
And now he's hitting Rampage in his ego just a little bit.
No,
I don't give a fuck about the fight on Saturday.
And there we go. This is the clip that you've been seeing everywhere, right? Kevin Holland saying, I don't care about the fight on Saturday. And I'm glad that people are seeing through it. It is the cope of Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland doesn't have what it takes to become a UFC champion, to be honest with you, I would argue that he does have what it takes. I think he has all the talent in the world. I kind of see him like a Kelvin Gastelum, somebody who hasn't been disciplined enough to become the UFC champion, but all of the talent is there. But the problem is Kevin Holland doesn't want to do that, and Kevin Holland is just pretending to not care about it. But how could you not care about it? You're losing a cage fight in front of millions and millions of people on a pay-per-view stage. Like, Kevin Holland absolutely does care about it. There's no way that you can not care about it. And actually, I'm almost sure it was the Guru who mentioned this. I've watched a lot of videos on this topic because, again, everybody's been talking about it. I'm almost sure it was a Guru, so apologize if it wasn't. But he compared Kevin Holland to that guy who you're playing with in Call of Duty, and then you're absolutely dummying him, right? And then all of a sudden he spawns in right next round and starts doing trick shots and kind of making it seem like he just doesn't even care. So he can just go, well, I wasn't really trying. And and he can cope with himself that he's actually still the better player. Kevin Holland is absolutely that guy. And again, I'm sorry I can't remember exactly who said that. I'm almost sure it was the Guru, but that was a fantastic comparison for Kevin Holland.
You don't want to fight me.
I'm just being real.
I'm being real with you, young buck. You
I'm
don't
just
want
letting
to fight
you know.
me. I'm just letting you know.
This sounds good.
Sometimes people don't know what they want.
Yeah.
You don't want to fight me.
I feel like,
and look, Rampage coming off just big broing him a little bit, eh?
Kevin,
Sounds good.
you have a very unique reputation. I'm throwing on one of the new Jakes ones.
Known for fighting everybody.
You're known for fighting
anybody.
at all times.
Don't care who they are.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
And I
And you could even see it in Kevin Holland's eyes. I know, I posited a weird thing. You can see in Kevin Holland's eyes that he's really, really, really tense right now.
And I do like the fact that
I'm the same way.
Yeah, and I do like the fact that Rampage, I feel, is like the first generation of that. He would take any fight at any time. He's been known for fighting in and out of the cage. Dana White came out and he talked about the fact that he wanted someone, and he said, yo, get the loudmouth, bring the loudmouth in. Let's see what he could do. You came in short notice, you put on a show, and then from there, I feel like your career took off. You've been known.
And not anymore. It's going downhill a little bit now. Kevin Holland in 2020 was an absolute animal, and we saw what Kevin Holland was capable of, but now he's made money. Now he is a star. He doesn't need to sit down and discipline himself as much as he has.
For talking loud, you talk during the middle of the fights. What is it about your style? What is it about talking during the middle of the fights, the way you're able to keep the energy going that you feel made you the fighter you are?
Nah, I just feel like fights get boring sometimes. There's nothing to do. You know, we're just sitting there. So casual.
Fights get boring sometimes. He expects everybody to believe that. You know, some people online think we're so stupid. It's an insult to our intelligence, man.
Conversation rules the nation. Nothing wrong with having a little conversation with somebody. You know, see what happens. You know, it's like we're just standing there looking at each other.
I think it's an ego problem. That's what I think.
Think it's an ego problem?
That's what I think.
I don't have much of an ego.
Since we've been honest,
unless we're sitting across the table and we're both shooting 45 70s and we're trying to see who can hit the target. I don't have much of an ego.
And yeah, see, because he is just diverting again because he doesn't want to take the chance ever that Rampage could actually beat him in a fist fight. He talks about like, oh, it doesn't matter unless I bring a gun. Like, come on, man. And to be honest with you, he's young. Is Kevin Holland in his prime? Regardless, he's around there. Like, he probably honestly could beat Rampage at this point in his life. But Rampage is big broing him right now.
Well, I'm just.
Do you know what a 45-70 is?
I'm just telling.
Do you know what a 45-70 is?
I'm just telling my opinion. You gave your opinion about my temper tantrum.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you 100%.
Okay, it's an opinion,
I'm just
right?
saying.
And Rampage is totally correct too in saying that he has an ego problem. Kevin Holland absolutely has an ego problem because he can't handle losing. He can't handle looking at himself in the mirror and actually having to improve. He can't handle people being better than him. It's like the quick scope guy. You can compare that to anything. It's like you're playing basketball with somebody and all of a sudden the guy just gets mad that he's losing and starts chucking the basketball from across the court, just making it seem like he doesn't care. That's Kevin Holland. No, it's crazy because usually people don't catch on to this. It's nice to see that people are actually seeing through this.
If it's not a 45-70 that we're shooting across the room, trying to see who hits the target, I'm not worried about it.
Again, planting the seeds for him to lose to Reiner de Ritter. And look what happened.
45-70 is?
No, I don't.
Okay, then shut the fuck up.
You'll tell me shut the fuck up?
Yeah.
Because
You go to somebody else's podcast, somebody who's giving you a platform with a bigger name, and you're sitting down and disrespecting him that way. The audacity of some people, man. It's crazy.
I don't understand what a 45-70 is.
He doesn't know what a
You're talking about ego. Now, I'm giving you some ego.
Okay.
Ego is when you don't understand what a 45-70 is.
Okay, so
that pisses me off.
No, that's showing the lack of ego, if anything, because Rampage is admitting that he doesn't know something. It takes a very, very mature and intelligent individual to do that.
That picture, because I don't know what a 45-70 is.
That fucks with my ego a little bit. What type of man are you don't know what a 45-70 is?
Because I don't know what a 45-70 is.
Yeah, that's kind of retarded.
It's retarded.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what a 45-70 is.
YouTube, I'm very grateful to be on this platform. I do not condone any language like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what a 45-70 is?
I would assume that it's an AR, some sort of rifle.
I assume that it's some type of gun, but do I know what a 45-70 is?
No, you should know what a 45
What is
Why?
it, Kevin?
So why? I don't understand what the big deal about that is. Like, he's also diverting the entire conversation so he can look like the smart one.
Tell
You're a
us what
big
it
guy.
is.
You should know what a 45
Why,
Kevin,
why
what
should I
is
know
it?
what a 45-70 is?
A little bit smaller than a 50 cal.
It's a little bit smaller than 50
I mean,
cal?
probably a lot smaller than a 50 cal.
What state do I live in?
You need to live in Texas.
But what state do I live in?
Then you can see about that ego we're talking about.
But what state do I live
Other
in?
than that, you shouldn't worry about ego. You should worry about being retired. That's
what's
what we had a conversation about last time.
Kevin Holland's not a very good trash talker, is he, man? Honestly, and it's important to note, too, coming from this is I like Kevin Holland, and unfortunately, I've been liking him less as time's gone on because of things like this, because we can all see through, like, he thinks a lot of the... He thinks so many of us are so stupid that he's like, oh, well, Kevin Holland just doesn't care. Kevin Holland's a great fighter. He just doesn't care. He would have won that fight. He actually tried, but he doesn't care. He thinks we're stupid, and I don't like that. And again, I'm not coming from a point of hating on Kevin Holland like a lot of people are, man. I have really enjoyed his rise. I really respect the grind. Like, it's just unfortunate to see that he is changing.
What state do I live in, though?
I don't know. You tell me.
What state are you in right now?
I think you have a lot of money. You should have houses in multiple states.
Well, you don't know. I don't brag about what I got.
I mean, I
Kevin.
said that I think you should.
Kevin,
And he's just making Rampage look like a better guy. Like, you should be humble, Rampage. You're humble. Yeah, I don't know.
Kevin,
You don't know that I
you
don't.
shoot guns?
Sometimes.
Well, and you like to shoot ARs, handguns. What do you shoot?
I like the 45-70.
Yeah.
We can see that.
Yes, we've heard the 45
Big
70.
ass.
45-70.
If you were to play
good for you.
football, I'm assuming your number would be
I like
45.
big guy.
I like the AR. That's what I'm trained on.
So
I
what
like
would you
that.
shoot in the AR then?
I said what?
What caliber do you shoot with the AR?
What caliber?
Yeah, you said ego, so now I'm giving you my ego. This is
He's been giving the ego the entire time. He's been giving the ego literally the entire time. But we're gonna wrap this part up because they continue on and they end up fizzling out a little bit and continue on just talking about guns and then going on to the rest of the podcast. But then we're gonna get into what TJ had to say. So stick around.
where my ego
Yeah,
steps
that's-
in. So which caliber do you use? Because it comes to ego to fighting, I don't have much one.
You
But
don't have-
it comes to
but
ego,
what-
you
what
want
you
an
shoot?
ego with something, I'm going to tell you what the ego is for.
I like the AR.
Well, what caliber do you use?
And they go on a little bit more with that. So that's where we're going to actually pause that because they get into a little bit back and forth. And like I said, there's not a ton of breakdown over there. But what came out from this is TJ Dillashaw absolutely ruined Kevin Holland because they had another podcast while Kevin Holland was not there. And they were talking about the fight with Reiner de Riddler. As the video is the UFC 311 recap of the Rampage, TJ Dillashaw and Bear. And man, I've always been a fan of TJ Dillashaw, and it's really, really cool, by the way. If you guys don't listen to the Rampage, or the JAXXON podcast, it's a fantastic, fantastic show, and whenever TJ's on there, he brings a beautiful, beautiful mind, especially when breaking down fights. So there are 2 points that we want to take a look at here, a couple minutes at the beginning, and then fast-forwarding a little bit, where he talks a little bit more about Kevin Holland's career. Let's get into it.
I didn't want to play to this game because what if I said 5.56? What if I what
2.23?
Yeah, whatever caliber I shoot, he's going to shoot it down. He's going I want him.
Now, to be honest with you, it kind of seemed like that Rampage actually didn't know what caliber he shot. But hey, you know what? That's always possible, right? Maybe he didn't want to play into the game. He was kind of giving Kevin Holland the eye too, kind of like, yeah. Like seriously, you're on my podcast right now. You're on my platform. What are you doing?
Play into his game, you know.
You train on the AR.
I did.
That's what he trained on.
Bro, I trained. I trained. Hey, I didn't want to talk about this, but I was trained by the SAS. You know what the SAS is? What kind of man are you? You don't know what the SAS is?
You got an ego problem, Rampage.
And see, and if Kevin Holland finds this, he's probably going to have a major issue with it, like Anthony Smith.
I'm like, oh man, back in my day, I wasn't worried about what I was shooting. I was worried about winning UFC titles. Like, what are you doing, dog? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like,
and TJ Dillashaw keeping it real again. And I always find it really sad that we have to appreciate this behavior at some point now. And don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about just like going around being disrespectful to people. It's nice that TJ Dillashaw just says it how it is. And you don't see that a lot in the world anymore for a variety of reasons, but I find it just sad that we have to like acknowledge this and go, wow, good on TJ. He's keeping it real, man.
Fuck, he can't talk shit, bro. Like, he can't come here, talk shit to a legend across the table. I text Bear, I was like, homeboy needs to get slapped.
No,
I was like, fuck that.
I said, you're more than willing to do it, TJ, because I am not.
No, for me, it wasn't about my accomplishment. It's just that a man, you just don't tell another man, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, he needs to see
especially when he comes on your platform that's bigger, and he's doing Kevin Holland a favor by giving him this type of clout. The JAXXON podcast has been doing phenomenal right now, and Kevin Holland has not. He should be thankful that he was on the JAXXON podcast.
We respect you.
Yeah, without violence. Being threatened, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna be the bigger guy because this is what I was thinking. The guy he's a kid to me, right? And he fights
How
this
old is
weekend. You know, even if I'm 46, even if he was 45, to me and my mom, like, he's a kid to me.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know if that's necessarily the way you're supposed to look at it. I guess you can look at the individual because it's strange as you grow, because at this point in my life, I just turned 27 years old, and it really varies on the individual because, like, everybody matures at different rates. Everybody goes through life at different rates, especially, like, at this stage of life that I'm in right now. There are people that are, like, infinitely older than me I know it's going to sound egotistical, but there are people that are significantly older than me that I look down upon because I know that I have done more than them in life, and I am very, very, like, more mature, more intelligent than they are. And I know it's going to sound egotistical, but I'm like, again, it depends on the individual. And there's people that I've met that are younger than me right now that I would take their advice completely on certain things. It just depends on the individual, but I don't know if, like, just looking at someone a year younger than you and just all of a sudden looking at him as a kid, I don't know if that's the way to go about it.
You know, no disrespect, but I'm like, he got to fight this weekend. You know,
he didn't care about the fight.
Obviously.
I don't. For me, I cared about his fight. And I don't want to, like, lose my temper. You know, fight him and get in trouble, and Dana White get mad at me because, you know,
and you want to talk about ego. That's the best way to take a look at things. That is not having an ego. That's understanding the situation that you're in and the consequences of those actions. So I think Rampage Jackson has matured a lot over the years.
Sometimes you just got to be the bigger person in times like
that. There's no reason for you to get physical.
To be honest with you, I kind of disagree with that. There absolutely was reason to get physical there, but he made the smarter decision in not getting physical.
Paige, I have to give you your flowers on this. I've never seen you that calm, and I knew you wanted to snap, and I know that you don't like disrespect and you don't tolerate disrespect, but all joking aside, your professionalism as a podcaster, brother, is through the roof. And I think that this is a career path that you should be for sure staying on.
And I completely 100% agree with that. And like I said at the beginning of the video, guys, this is a podcast that I have only been listening to more of as time has gone on. And I would have never expected it to be as good as it is. And it's like not a dig to Rampage or anything. It's just like when we first found out that Rampage was starting a podcast, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I like Rampage. But then I listened to it and I'm like, oh my God, this is fantastic. It's some of the best MMA content that you can find right now.
I think that you're very funny, but I want to tell you that being that respectful to the podcast and the business here at JAXXON and what we've kind of worked for. I mean, you could have easily broke this door and then, you know, rifled off on this dude with a non-45-7, but with your hands. And you didn't, and you stayed calm. And I just want to say thank you for that. Also,
and that is so nice to hear. But we are going to fast forward through this just a little bit because TJ Dillashaw talks a little bit more about him, and they start talking a little bit more about the card. Okay, so we're going to fast forward over to 14:43. That's where I time-stamped it. Excuse me, 14. We're just started at 14:40 over here because TJ Dillashaw, again, just cooks this dude.
I'm in here sucking. Like, I was mad on the podcast, right? So I commented even on one of the posts you guys put out there about him not caring about being a champion. There's too much politics in it. I'm like, all right, dude, that's just an excuse because you'll never be a champion. You know what I mean?
Dude, keeping it real again. TJ Dillashaw does not care.
Like, but he's a very entertaining fighter. He talks a lot. He does this, but he will never be a champion. I'll promise you that.
He's right, though. That's the problem. He's right. Kevin Holland needs to change a ton of things. And from what we've seen, it looks like that is absolutely not going to be the case.
Wow, TJ. Wow.
Again, we're going to get into this.
Did it with Anthony Smith. Now you're doing it with Kevin Holland.
Well, because it's the truth.
Watch Kevin Holland just completely not talk to them anymore. But as TJ said, it's just the truth. And they're talking about MMA. They're breaking down people's performances. They're talking about someone who was just on this platform completely disrespecting it. I think he had every right in the world to say that.
Like, he's got some holes in his game, and we see it here, right? So he's got a guy that's on top of him, and he keeps trying to hold him in his guard, right? Right now he's going to attacks. It's great, going for attacks. But when the attacks stop working, you got to escape and get back to your feet, especially when you're better on your feet.
And look, TJ's mind for the game is phenomenal. Whenever he's on the Rampage, or excuse me, I keep saying the Rampage podcast, the JAXXON podcast, I am sure to listen. And I have always liked TJ, man. It was such a disappointment that he ended up popping, but I still I know a lot of people, the reason I say that is because a lot of people have really changed their tune on Dillashaw, and it was disappointing to hear as well, but his mind for the game is absolutely real, and he brings a lot of value to this type of content.
Like, he doesn't even try to put his feet on the hips and push off. You'll see later, RDR's above him, standing. Not even controlling him. He's standing above him doing ground and pound, and he's trying to hold on to guard rather than putting the feet on the hips, get space, and stand up.
Well, that's because he doesn't care. To quote Kevin Holland, he doesn't give a fuck about the fight. It only matters if there's a gun. It only matters if there's a gun, and that's totally not a cope.
So that's like when I see like 101 doesn't have like the skills on the ground or the mindset to get back to his feet and keep the fight in the favor. Like when a guy stands up like this and he's not controlling your hips, you let go of your guard, you put your feet on his hips, and you push away and stand up.
Yeah, and Kevin Holland doesn't try, and he's capable, and he knows. I don't know if he knows like that exact sequence, but he knows what he's supposed to do. But it just Kevin Holland just sits there and is like, "I'm going to talk to you, so I look like I don't care about this." It is actually just a cope. Like, the cope of Kevin Holland is so real, and again, I'm glad that people have been talking about it.
Yeah, I agree with you about that part, like him getting the right stand up. But what if he switched teams, get some new people around him, and really focus on getting to that
Bro,
champion?
you sat here and let him say like he doesn't give a shit. You know,
it's true, but Rampage is right. Like, if he gets the right people around him, I do believe that Kevin Holland has what it takes to actually become a champion one day. I do believe that, but I do not believe he will actually accomplish that because of everything that we've ever heard Kevin Holland say.
Like, are you going to be a champion if you don't care? No, you ain't never going to be. Like, this needs to, you need to obsess about it every day of your life. Like, you need to be OCD about training, about being the best, not losing one practice. Like, he's talking about bringing training partners in and going home and smoking weed. You know, like, just sitting here listening to him talk and then watching his skills on TV, he doesn't have the mindset for it. He's just happy being on TV.
Yep, that's exactly right. And so many of these other fighters have the aspirations to be a UFC champion. He's like, I got my clout, I want to smoke. And even like recently, he talked about like he didn't care about the USADA jacket too. He's just like, as long as I don't come on Sunday, because I'll be hungover. Like, he wants to be looked at as a pretty cool guy instead of actually a capable fighter.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
but then again, he also wants to be looked at as a capable fighter. That's why he pretends like he doesn't care.
It is about mindset, though.
It's everything, bro. It's like, I mean, there's so many moving parts in becoming a UFC champion that you got to be completely obsessed about it day in and day out. When it comes to your diet, comes to your training, comes to your recovery, the way you carry yourself. And I think it's too much work for him.
Do you think?
Absolutely. And you see those traits in pretty well every single UFC fighter, every single UFC champion. The ones at the top, they really, really stand out for a reason. It's because they are absolutely, obsessed. You see many UFC champions speak on that.
It's a bad thing that a fighter is don't have the eye set on being champion?
No, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. But you can't come in here and disrespect the UFC champion. You know what I mean? Like someone that did put it all out there, that did work his ass off and win a world title and like talk shit.
Yeah, and talk about the other people, the person across from you having an ego. Like, this person has accomplished more than you ever will in your life, and you're sitting there actually disrespecting them. And I don't think that because somebody's accomplished more than you, like, that warrants them, like, free from any criticism or anything like that. But there was no reason to dog on Rampage and challenge Rampage the way that Kevin Holland did. It wasn't his place. It wasn't right to do.
You know, something you be put in your place, and then it happened. So, like right here, like the guy's standing up, not controlling his hips. Watch, this is what I saw. So his guard's open and he's blocking. Put your feet on his hips, kick away. But watch what he does. Look, that goes back to guard. Why go back to guard? Why
Because he doesn't care. Because he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the fight.
stay on your back longer? You're not threatening with submissions. Like, push away and get up, stand up, scramble.
But the problem is he risks losing position and then getting choked out and embarrassed because he actually tried to get out of something, and as opposed to just like, oh yeah, I didn't care and I lost. Like, I got paid and I'm going to get drunk. That's all that matters.
So that's where I see some big holes.
But Reno De Ryder, is he a good stand-up guy?
No, I think he's mainly jiu-jitsu. From what
He is, and that's the thing. Kevin Holland, in my opinion, is miles better than him. It's very, very comparable to what we were talking about with Kelvin Gastelum, but Kelvin Gastelum doesn't sit here and go, oh, I didn't care. Kevin Holland still has he still is on his mission for gold. My point being in the comparison that the talent level is there. You can see it. The idea that they're capable of becoming champion is present. You can see it in these fighters. But something about their mindset is keeping them from it. There's something that separates them from the guys like TJ Dillashaw, Rampage Jackson, great champions like George St. Pierre, the people who talk about absolutely being obsessed. So Kevin Holland, the cope is real. I wanted to give my 2 cents. Everybody's been talking about it. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. If you want to hear more about TJ Dillashaw dogging into somebody, dropping some truth bombs, why don't you check out the Anthony Smith video right here? I would love to have you guys over there. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.